very good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. Welcome to the channel. If you're a newbie, I do hope you'll find something of value for you. If you're a returning visitor, of course, you know the drill. You know that I have a waffle and I tend to talk about all sorts of things on the Sunday yarning, which, of course, for those people that are new to the channel and aren't from Australia, yarning is having a chat, okay? It's a bit of a chitter chat. Now, at the end of the day, obviously, I do put up a channel update, and you can jump forward to the sections that are of interest to you. But today I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and I hope the video won't go too long. And this is because this week has actually been very eventful for me. I have been out connecting with other people that do the same stuff that I do, and that was absolutely wonderful. But it prompted an idea for discussion here today in the Chitter Chatter. And then, of course, I'm right in the middle of an online buying experience, and I'm going to give you a tip about it, because this is the risk that a retailer will take, is that we have to, and obviously I'm aiming to get back into that. We have to actually take risks and try and find a good wholesaler and that kind of stuff. And we get burned. Or there is a risk of being burned, and we've got to be reasonably astute with this. Well, anyway, long story short, I have a few concerns about the direction of one of my purchases at the moment, so I'll be talking about that in a moment. Before I do, though, I actually want to focus on the gratitude aspect of today and just let people know there are timing chapters in the description of the channel. And also, if you are new to the channel, you might not be aware that I've got a little doggy, and sometimes he can get really busy, and he's got squeaky toys. So it might sound like I've got a bunch of children running through the house because I've got wooden floorboards. And then other times he finds a squeaky toy and he starts honking on it because I've got a few pigs. Well, he has, rather. So it could be a bit entertaining. But anyway, let's talk about gratitude first, because if you're not familiar, there's something I love near where I live. It's these guys. It's the red-tailed black cockatoo. And the reason why I say I've got it near where I live, well, more to the point, I've actually got a massive big tree on the front verge. And when we're lucky, these guys come in and visit you on a regular basis, a couple of times a year. They're not there all the time, but when they come in, they are so raucous. They're so loud. They shred the trees. A lot of people don't like it because they're so messy, but I absolutely love it because it's never for a long time that they're around, and they're an endangered species, so it's a real privilege to have them. And from a symbolism perspective, that also is wonderful, because my understanding is that when they come in, they're showing you that joy is on its way. So there you go. That's what I'm sharing with you. Something I'm very grateful for. But now into updates as far as what's going on for me around the house and within my little world off the internet, which of course is I'm going to continue to promote this event, because our first one's going to be on March the 12th, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be held at a community centre for those people that live local to Perth. It's at Mount Lawley on Beaufort Street, which is a fairly central location. Numbers are limited, of course, to how many seats there are there. It's not a big gathering, but of course you will need to get a ticket, and you can get them off Eventbrite. So the idea is that you can either bring along your own tarot decks, or you can bring along your own favourite crystals and talk about them. Or this is why I'm doing the buying of crystals at the moment. I will have some there for you to handle, play with, whatever, talk about, get a feel for, that kind of thing, and start to enjoy and expand your own awareness of crystals and their properties and that kind of thing. But so I've been buying, I've been spending money that, I get a bit carried away. So I think it's going to be a good night. I'd like to think so. I've bought some new tarot and oracle decks. Some of them are nice, some of them, it's just good to actually buy some every now and again and have a look and think, one of the decks in particular is very beautiful, but it's not what I would consider a working deck. It's not something, and it was actually one of the more costly decks. It's not one that I would use in my day-to-day work when I'm doing readings from people. And that's largely because the cards are made from very flimsy material. I might take a photograph of some of these decks that I've got and let you know my thoughts on them. Or maybe I'll just do a couple of reactive reviews, if you like, with videos where I talk about them and show you images. That might be something on the radar for going forward. So my home space, where I'm delivering services, or I've started putting my toe back into doing it, that's getting more and more, shall we say, comfortable. all the time. And this is because I'm actually storing a lot of crystals in there as well, because I do crystal prescriptions when people come over and they go, well, what crystal do you think I need for X and Y? I want to be able to make suggestions and point them to have a selection, a few choices of what crystal to pick, which is why I'm doing this online buying as well. It gives people options. I kind of figure that if I'm making the recommendations, I probably should have them here. Anyway, the beauty and the spin-off benefit of this is that I now am getting more and more crystals in my room, and they of course carry energy and increase the ambience and all of that kind of thing. And I've now got a water feature in there as well that blows out the colors, got an LED light, whatever you like to call it. So that's there as well, just to increase the sense of peace. I'd like to think that when people leave, they actually feel peaceful when they've left, peaceful and empowered. So, in other news, as I said, I've been connecting with other people. I went out for a lunch the other day. It was absolutely lovely, actually. I'd met one of these women at the Tarot and Tea night, and she invited me along to a group of what they refer to, I guess, as spiritual ladies, but most of them have their gifts. They've already tapped into them, and they've been, because we're all a bit long in the tooth, we've been around for a long time now, actively and consciously on our journey. And, we find it interesting, as with anybody, that when you reflect to what things were like in the year 2000 and how people approached the delivering of services or their teaching and the learning and that kind of thing, times have changed. They have moved on as well. And, we do notice too that over the years there become cycles of focus, if you like, for people when it comes to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. Like a prime example, gosh, gee, what year was it? I think around about 2000, 2001, the focus was on connecting with your guardian angels. And then people, I think within a couple of years of that, they were all focused on developing their psychic abilities, opening up their third eye, all of those kind of things. Then there's the phases and the cycles of, I just want to reach enlightenment and become all Buddha-like, become a Buddha and just meditate all the time. It seems to have themes is where I'm going. And so one of the benefits of getting together with a group of people that have been around for a while is that you start talking about your observations, your experiences, your interactions, and in the process, and look, honestly, we had such a ball. I just want to be sure or be clear that you're aware that throughout this conversation and this gathering, there was a lot of laughter. We were just laughing our heads off. And while we went there for lunch, the reality is that because it was an al fresco area, eventually all the staff went home and just left us there and just said, look, there's the door, let yourself out when you're done, because clearly we were enjoying ourselves, and our laughter, I guess, was making everybody else laugh. But where I'm going with this anyway, in the course of this sharing, we discussed the fact that there's a lot of questionable teachers out there, people that put themselves up on pedestals and try and carry to people that they are somehow an authority or whatever, because they've got perhaps clairvoyance or perhaps they can see spirit or whatever. And a lot of these people, in fact, some of them can't, but they have the capacity to influence other people in ways that are harmful. And so when we were talking about this, so it's a serious subject, but it was delivered, I guess, in light ways, in that, I think one lady said, Wayne Dyer had a quote about gurus that wasn't very flattering. I can't remember what it was. She repeated it to me. But anyway, there's another saying that I've heard is Rugus. They're the gurus, but they've got it all back to front. So this is why I've put Rugus there, because they think they're right. They're not listening to spirit. They're actually listening to the voices in their head, if I want to be rough about it. And they tend to be imposters. So the challenge there becomes, for those people who are genuine seekers, how do they find the right seeker, okay? The right seeker, the right teacher. Well, the thing is that you can go running around everywhere trying to find a teacher, but the other truth that I understand is that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, right? They will find something. And I guess in a way that's a bit like the event that I'm advertising, okay? If somebody has not opened to their gifts, they're going to see it, and they might decide to come along because they're ready to grow at that time. And maybe I'll be able to help teach them different things and skills and to help grow them. But where I'm going with this too is that Oh, gee. You know, this is the uncomfortable part of this particular aspect of life is many years ago, I felt that I'd met a number of teachers who I thought were completely psychologically unstable. And I realised there's going to be people that will be listening to this and think, and you see dead people and you think you're not unstable. Look, there's a difference. You can see spirit. There are aspects of it that for those of us that have got these gifts, we actually know them. We believe it to be true. And I could give you an example. I'm just really mindful of taking too long. Okay, so an example of an astute buyer or an astute seeker is going to be able to discern fact from fiction, okay? If somebody comes up to me, and I've done it more than once, where they come up and they say, I've got a message for you. The first thing is, well, really, did you ask my permission before you got it? Because that's not acceptable to me. If you haven't asked me and I haven't asked you, then your message is meaningless to me. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to take it on board. The other thing is, if I do ask you for a message, I'm going to pay attention to how you deliver that and whether you wrap it up in your own experiences and you project your issues over to me. Now, the thing is too, that becomes a fine line, okay? Because when I deliver my services, quite often when I'm trying to clarify things for people, I will say to them, I will draw upon my experiences, but this is after I've delivered the guided message, but I will be very clear of what is mine and what is divine. Okay, now, there are people that will find it difficult to believe this, but the first absolutely brilliant medium I ever met that it was absolutely undoubtable was a lady who could see spirit as clearly as a person standing beside her, and she was actually able to hear them in much the same way as talking on the telephone. And I shared this story with them the other day because I said, look, that's what I would aspire to be like. You know, I said, this woman, I didn't go down there to test her. She opened a shop and she said that she was guided to sell crystals. And I'd said to her, well, do you know anything about them? And she said, no, I don't. But she said, my guides are telling me it doesn't matter because they'll help me. I said, okay. So I went down on a grand opening day and I was hovering around the shelves thinking, well, if anybody asks about crystals, at least I'll be there to help her out. You know, I mean, that's egotistical, just in case you didn't know. I realised this. We're talking about 25 years ago this happened. And anyway, I'm walking around the shelving and sure enough, some customers come in and they go straight to the crystals and they start picking off some and they put them down on the counter and they say, well, what are these ones for? And I've got such and such a health condition and what do you recommend? Well, my friend, bless her socks, she's looked at them and gone, oh, I'm not sure. Which, of course, the confusion in the customers is almost palpable. And then, of course, I'm thinking, oh, I'll have to run over there and help her out. But before I can do that, she goes, just a moment, please. And then she sticks a finger in her ear and she goes, oh, really? Right. You know, like she's having a full-on conversation with a person with a body. And she turns around, she says to these people, this is what you use these crystals for. And my guides are telling me that if you've got these health conditions, then you need to buy these crystals, okay? So for me, that was validity. There was no mistaking it because the information that she conveyed to these people was actually the knowledge that I had around the crystals as well. So we can turn around and say, oh, that's coincidental or rubbish or whatever, but I saw it with my own eyes. So I feel that I can testify to that and I actually, therefore, that becomes my knowledge. But anyway, back to the Rugus and the Imposters. Oh, by the way, she's the only person that I've ever seen that was that gifted, just so you know. Well, basically, where I'm going with this is I was told a story, and I'll try and keep this brief, where one of the ladies in the group had been made aware that there was somebody that was putting themselves up as a teacher, and a teacher of the sacred breath of all things. Now, I've put up a video on the sacred breath and how you can do it, and it's not something most of us can develop overnight. It takes practice, okay? And the practice is because you do an inhale to the count of 7. This is when you're doing the full sacred breath. You hold the full lung for the count of 7, and then you exhale out for the count of 7, and then you've got to hold the empty lung to the count of 7. So it takes practice is where I'm going. It's not about being able to do it overnight, and you don't beat yourself up if you can't actually do it to 7. You just keep on trying. Well, anyway, this person who called herself a guru or a teacher or whatever, was teaching people how to do the sacred breath. And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. I would have thought that was a half an hour session, but not a full course and a workshop, but whatever. And she said, yeah, but the joke of it was that this teacher would have them all lie on the floor and then she would jump on them, right? I'm talking physically jump on them, because then there is a reflexive action, of course, where you breathe, because somebody just hurt you. And she said the problem was that the lady did end up being shut down as a teacher because she got sued. She actually injured one of the people that was lying on the mat. So, I mean, that's a Rugu. That's an imposter. We did laugh, and that's probably not kind, saying, how would this woman think that she is being divinely guided to jump physically on people when they're at their most vulnerable, lying on the ground? How would anybody think that was divinely inspired? I mean, there's a real risk of harm with that, whether the lady had sued or anyway. I mean, it could have been horrendous. Point being, you've got to be a little bit discerning, and I guarantee you that when those people were lying on the floor and they started seeing other people get jumped on because it was a workshop, surely at some point in time their alarm bells were saying, oh, this might hurt. You know what I mean? This might be unwise. Pay attention to your own inner voice. So I guess the real key is, when you're new to this, when you're just starting to put your big toe in the water and try and find a teacher, what makes a teacher a good teacher? Now, there'll be people listening to this that will have other ideas and suggestions, and I invite and welcome you to put your comments up, because it's really, really important. Because what happens when you have the Rugus who are just absolutely deluded, they actually taint and make it difficult for the genuine ones, okay? People will knee-jerk react to teachers or spiritual mentors or whatever, simply because they've heard of some of these people that probably should be in a psychiatric ward. But anyway, the idea is, look at how the person behaves themselves, which is a good teacher is not going to try and force you to do anything. They're not going to push you into doing something that you're uncomfortable with. They're going to respect you and your own personal desire to grow at a rate that is comfortable for you, because they understand they are not responsible. The teachers are not responsible for your growth. All we do is facilitate and support you to make your own connection, and your guides are going to help you grow at the perfect rate for you. We're all responsible for our own journey. You know what I mean? It's up to me to make sure I grow at the perfect rate for me and to interact with my guides, and the same goes for the people that we meet. So they will encourage you to think independently. They will discourage you from depending on them for your answers. This is even if we're psychic readers and that kind of thing. The idea is, if somebody is calling me every month for a reading, they're becoming dependent on me, and that's not healthy. They're taking shortcuts, if you like, rather than go within and find the answers themselves, because the answers lie within all of us. They're going outside. Look, sometimes it is a matter of healing and unpacking, but ultimately a good teacher or a good spiritual mentor is going to support you to be self-sufficient. Now, the other tip that I'm so lucky that I read this in the very early days of my conscious journeying, if you like, and I was just at that stage. I will say that I was guided to actually find this little sentence, which is no longer on the internet as far as I know. The people, I guess the saying that's associated with it is the student outgrows the teachers, and it happens again and again. And the same with me. I did say the other day, yeah, okay, I do call myself a teacher, but at the end of the day, I'm nobody's master, because while I do have Reiki masters and all the rest of it, the bottom line is anybody that I have ever taught or interacted with, they've always taught me as well. It is a mutual relationship where we grow and grow together. But anyway, I had got to the stage where I was outgrowing my teachers, I guess, and questioning some of their decision making. Life is always transient. Your teachers, and this happens with your metaphysical workers as well. Sometimes we're full on and doing service work, and then other times life happens and our own energy fields get thrown out of whack, and we've got to take some time out and focus on ourselves. But anyway, where I'm going with this is I don't know what was going on with my previous mentors, but clearly we were going down different paths and I was becoming less comfortable. They were also becoming more forceful, I must admit, telling people that they needed to attend for an X number of readings, that we couldn't do it on our own. And not only that, each consult or each time we went and saw them, it actually cost money. So you're starting to look at financial exploitation there. Anyway, where I've gone down the whatever the windy path again is I was actually trying to get to the point where when I was questioning my mentors, I read a piece of information that was on the internet, and it was somebody that had been, I think they had put a comment up like, I've been on this journey for 25 years and the best advice I could ever give to somebody is if you meet a teacher, because everybody's always looking for a teacher, if you meet a teacher and they tell you that you need them to grow or you need to have X number of services, that is the time to run like the wind, because they have gone into a pathway that is no longer light. They're going down a bit of a dark pathway. And if it's not to exploit the person financially, it's usually exploiting them for the sake of their own ego, because some people, they need, as they're doing their growth, they need to have people tell them they're amazing. Oh, you're so amazing. Like, what would I do without you? You're my voice of reason, or you're my whatever. Anyway, it becomes dependency. And a good teacher or somebody who has good spiritual understanding will know that once they start creating dependency, they're starting to deviate from spiritual law. They're going to actually incur some pretty significant karma at some point down the track. Then the other part is that, if you interact with them, it should be honest and transparent. There shouldn't be these false claims of I can do X and Y. There shouldn't be, I'm not a fan of the words should, shouldn't, whatever. That's limitation. They should just be honest and transparent about what their strengths are and what their limitations are, I believe. Now, the other thing too that I learned is that, and this is part of my own journey of getting readings and spiritual services, is that sometimes the messages that we get are quite fear-based. And when they are fear-based messages, they are not empowering messages, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, an ethical teacher will not create fear in the people around them. Now, that being said, there's also a little disclaimer on that, is that we, even with the best of intention, we can deliver a service to somebody, but we cannot take responsibility for how that person hears. You know what I mean? We might, because language, when it comes to words, it can be interpreted in so many different ways. So somebody, and I've seen this because I've taught many people how to deliver readings as well, to be mindful that what you say is not always heard in the way that you delivered it. And perhaps a good practice at the end of every session is to turn around and say, is there any questions? Are you okay with what is said? Especially when you're giving. So for me, the types of readings I do, I show the challenges as well. And if somebody's been through a lot, it can be frightening if it's not conveyed properly. So it's like, no, my guides will never tell you anything to frighten you. They might give you information about upcoming challenges so that you can psychologically work out a strategy to navigate those difficulties. But they're never going to say something that is going to give you a fear of the future, shall we say. It's always going to be empowering stuff. So the point is, ask questions. And if you get a service from somebody and they leave you frightened or feeling somehow inadequate, be aware that's not on you. That's on them, the person, because they either haven't delivered the message correctly or they don't have capacity to deliver the message correctly. Not everything that gets done is malicious. Anyway, moving on. I did mention way back when I started the Crystal Magic playlist that I would share my experiences with you guys that listen to my videos, just to let you know what's going on out there on the market, because if I encounter it, the chances are somebody else is going to encounter it as well. Now, I've got a bit of a problem at the moment, is where I'm going to go with this. This is that online buying stuff where I have said again and again that when you buy online, there are risks associated with it. Now, bearing in mind, I know this, I know there are risks. I try and take a calculated risk sometimes, but at the same time, right now, I've got a bit of anxiety. Okay, over a purchase that I've made. And what I'm noticing, and I'm going to share this, it might be perceived to be racist, but it's an observation. That if I am going to be scammed, it seems to happen in one particular area. And then me being who I am, this is that whole cognitive dissonance thing where you think like, oh, you can't judge all people the same. Just because you were ripped off by one or two of them doesn't mean they're all going to do it. Well, I can tell you, I'm a little concerned that I've been burned again from the same location. And if that is the case, I can guarantee you, I don't care that they're not all the same and that people are different. Once you have been burned more than once in an area by a certain demographic, it's going to put me off buying there ever again. I will never ever do a purchase online from this country again unless I go over there and actually visit the shops and get the materials. So this experience is something that buyers will relate to, hopefully, or take heed of. And that sellers, if they are genuine sellers, that they recognise there is a cultural difference sometimes to business and how we operate. Now, we in the West, when we make a purchase, we expect it to happen in a timely way because we have consumer laws. Like here in Australia, I can't take somebody's money and go, oh yeah, I'll send that to you when I feel like it. If I've taken the money, I have to turn that around and get that item or commodity shipped. And if I'm turning around and advertising a product that I actually don't have in my hot little hand right now today to put in a box to take to the post office for you, that's considered false advertising and I can be breached for consumer law. So that's how we operate here in Australia. We have the product, we sell it, people buy it, all goes through. Okay? Now, where I've got an issue is I went onto a wholesale platform and I ordered, not a big bulk because it's not like I've won the lotto or anything, but I've bought a larger order, shall we say, because I want it there for when I actually do the event. I've ordered some selenite. Anyway, where I'm going with this is the person also said that they were selling palm stones, selenite palm stones. And I thought, well, that will be nice because people like palm stones. So I agreed to buy them. And then at the last minute, this is where I'm silly. So these people, they are really good at the front line of customer selling, the marketing aspect, okay? And then what I've observed is that once they've got the money, right, there becomes a level of emotional manipulation through the whole process, which is like, you've got to deviate. And this is what I did. I should have been listening. I shouldn't have bought at night time. But they gave me what I considered to be a plausible excuse for why they couldn't take payment through the platform. And I needed to go off the platform and make my payment through a different payment gateway. Now, obviously, I've been doing my investigations today to see if I can get a refund in the case these people are unethical, because at the moment I'm actually still trying to hold faith that they are the genuine article. But given that I placed the order and it hasn't been dispatched yet, and they're telling me they're making palm stones, and that's what's causing the delay, I'm thinking it doesn't take that long to make 10 palm stones. You've got to be kidding me. I'm talking about India. Does anybody want to know that? I am talking about India. Be careful. Okay, that has been my experience. And I'm sorry if you are from India and you are a retailer or a seller or whatever, then perhaps you in your country can be doing something to get things put in place on these rogues, okay, because they're out of control. There needs to be some customer protections put in. And unless it happens, people from the West, such as myself, will stop buying from India. Your whole industry is going to crash. Because I didn't just get burned, just so you know, it wasn't just buying crystals I've been burned on when going to India for support. It's actually been through technology as well. I've paid, they make promises that they can't deliver on, is where I'm going. So this is a huge problem. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, because actually I love Indian people. I just want to be clear about this. I really do love their culture. I've met some really beautiful Indian people, but there is something about buying online that seems to create monsters there. So anyway, basically, my advice to the buyer is don't ever go off the platform to make your purchase. Don't do what I did. Doesn't matter what their reasons are. If they can't sell you through the gateway, then there's potentially, it might be a valid reason, but there's so much risk attached to that. So I've been doing my homework now, and I can see that if this guy doesn't dispatch to me, I may be able to get my money back by going through the payment gateway that I used. I can report them as fraudulent to the platform that I bought off. But at the end of the day, in future, I won't be using the payment method. See, this is the thing. They kind of sway you to use a payment processor that you wouldn't normally use. And that's part of, I guess, a level of emotional manipulation. What else can I say? Basically, if you're the seller, just make sure you pack and deliver in a timely way. I mean, this guy might be genuine, okay? He might be legitimate, but my experiences say don't trust until the package arrives, until I see it. And don't believe a word they are saying when the customer support seems to decline once the money has gone through. So I'm going to give the guy a benefit of the doubt over the weekend, although I'm pretty sure he's at work today. And if I don't, I've actually sent him an email. I've been assertive. I've said, I want to see the tracking number. If it's the palm stones that are the problem, split the order. Send me the selenite rods now. Give me the tracking number. And follow up with the palm stones later on, because that will actually minimize some of the risk for me. At least I'll get some product that I can sell if he is a scammer. But anyway, that's my latest experience with buying crystals. So as far as the crystal playlist update goes, well, yeah, that's a happening thing. This is going to be ongoing for a while, because I've kind of made the decision that once I've got to the point of having covered the ground with a lot of the crystals that I'm familiar with, I will then look to do basically a prescriptive aspect, like if you've got such and such, what would you use? What kind of crystal? Because this is something that comes up all the time for me. And it's just easy to have my hand on that kind of information. I still want to get some choroid. I'm just holding off on it, okay? The choroid, of course, comes from Russia. And I've got that supplier there. I just prioritise the selenite. Oh my gosh, gee, silly me. I should have just bought the choroid and not worried about the selenite. Anyway, that's where we're at with that. So the seraphinite was published this week. Of course, that was completed. Just to make mention again, one of my most favourite crystals at the moment. That's like right up there, top of the list. Mind you, I must say I'm still in love with my carnelian pendant, by the way, but I'm just resting it at the moment today. Chrysanthemum stone, that has also been loaded. Now, if my memory serves me well, I'm pretty sure Toby played up during that one. So that might be a bit of a bad one, but whatever. It's the best I could do at the time, so hopefully you appreciate it. But anyway, it's published now. Anybody can take a look at it. For next week, I have already recorded the video on the desert rose, which is a beautiful flower. Beautiful crystal. So many amazing healing properties with that one. I actually, I'm hoping to put in an order to get some of those here for me as well at home as part of my house, because it's just an amazing crystal. But anyway, that one will be published on Tuesday. I'm trying to get ahead of myself, so my plans include actually recording this video in a couple of hours, because I've done the transcript and I want to get it uploaded, ready to be scheduled in advance. But on Thursday, you can expect to see Unakite be published. This is really, I'll just say in summary, I'll give you a tidbit on this one. This one's really recommended for those people that are suffering from significant distress, loss, grief. And if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure this is the one that is recommended for those people that have experienced abuse. And now that can be within your domestic relationships or as a child. But people recovering from abuse, you would recommend Unakite too. I was feeling a little bit guilty that I haven't actually done any free tarot readings this week. Well, actually I did, but not online. And this is because, well, because I, want to be able to deliver them. But I also have told myself, so this is about self-discipline for me, that I will keep a check and balance on my giving and receiving, because I've overdone it in the past. And so this time around, my intention has been that, I tithe with my time. So the bottom line is, if I do 10 readings that are paid, then I will offer one free reading, Anyway, bottom line is I haven't done 10, so I've managed to build the bridge on my own guilt. And I've actually, even though I haven't done a free reading online, I have done it at home. And hopefully, me putting this up is going to prompt and remind me to actually get on track of my other tasks, because at the moment I'm focusing on the prep for the event, because I've got so many. I'm brainstorming. You know what it's like. I'm quite a creative person, actually, and I've got a lot going on in my mind of how to make that night really beautiful for those people that can attend. So that's kind of the focus. And then I actually have the task, the content for YouTube that I've got to get on top of. Then, of course, there's your normal day-to-day stuff. And then I've got some other creative ideas, which I haven't shared with you, but I'm trying to work on those in between times. But I recognise at the end of the day, we've all got to live and survive and generate income as well. So I've got to take care of those things that support my base needs first. So anyway, a couple of delays is where I'm going, but I hope not too long. So that pretty well brings us to a close for today. But before I head off for the day, just a reminder, especially to those people that are new to the channel, do take a look at some of the other playlists. Some of them need to be updated and that kind of thing. But I think for those people that are getting into it, there's always a time and a place. Frankly, I love all the angel content. Colours have great meaning to me, especially from a symbology, that's not even a word, symbology perspective, because it's got so much meaning. Each colour has got layer upon layer of meaning to it as well. And that helps me when I'm interpreting messages that I get from the other side. What else? Numerology. Oh, numerology. If you can get a handle on that, it is so revealing of your life path, especially if you know your birth time, because then, for example, somebody such as myself, we'd be able to do a report and let you know what past life karma you've brought in. Now, I actually haven't covered that on the numerology playlist because there hasn't been a demand for it to start with. And also, frankly, I'm not sure that I want to actually put all over the internet how you do it. I've got to think about that a bit more. I think I've got to have a chat with my guides about whether or not it's appropriate. We do eventually come into it all. And of course, crystal magic, because I love crystals. But anyway, for now, I'm going to kick on. Now, I'm recording this on Saturday because obviously there's been so many techno issues and all the rest of it. I thought I'll play it safe. I'll record this because I had a power blackout this morning, actually, and then get it uploaded. And I know that you're going to get it in a timely way. So for now, though, I'm going to say have a wonderful weekend. Well, by the time you watch this, it won't be the weekend. The weekend will be over for most of you. Just have a beautiful day, blessed day, blessings upon you. May the light shine on you. May you be covered and blanketed in angelic showers. For now, though, I'm going to say g'day, goodbye, and I'm going to go and spend some time with my Toby boy before I do the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.